two, one. Blog Talk Radio.
Hooray! It's Freedom Fridays, and this is your host, Dr. Deb Carlin, here on Blog Talk Radio on the K Factor, where K equals kindness, and the factors are all the things that lead to it. And I love Fridays because I get to be here with my co-host, my good friend, my business partner, Dr. Charlie Cartwright. Yay!
Awesome. What an awesome introduction, and absolutely loving this and looking forward to it all week. So it's awesome to be here.
You know what? Isn't it awesome? It really is. It's such a good word because awesome really means exactly that. You know, like you're going, man, this is so cool. This is so great. We had wanted to do stuff together for years since we first met, and it took insulation quarantine time.
Yeah.
You know, to make it all happen. And, you know, that doesn't even have anything to do with living in two different parts of the country.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the beauty of technology now that we can, have this availability. It's like we're sitting across from each other in a nice office. So it's awesome.
Indeed we are. I thought we were. You know, it's funny as we've been adjusting things here this morning. I swear, Charlie, this is like an omen from the heavens. It was really dark. I was saying, my God, it's like we're really dark in here. And we go on the air and all of a sudden it lightens up.
Yes.
The illumination happens. For a couple of minutes, there was through your blinds behind you there with that beautiful sunlight streaming in. It was coming in and it looked like you had a halo on. I'm thinking, yay, go God.
It's amazing. I actually had a presentation one time. I was in Nebraska, and the last slide is the sun bursting out of the clouds.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a rainy morning. It had been raining all morning. And so they had their blinds open, but it had been raining. And when I hit that last slide, literally the whole room lit up because the sun peeked out from behind the clouds at that moment. And so afterward, I was like, are there any questions? And people were like, who are you connected to? Because when you hit that last slide, the whole room lit up. And we were all like, who is this guy? And then about 5 minutes later, back to rainy and cloudy. So it was a really cool, I took it as a positive sign.
It is. It is a very positive sign. So I'll tell you what, this is our second episode. Why don't you take it away, Dr. Charlie Cartwright, and tell people, what is Freedom Fridays about anyway?
Freedom Fridays is about just expanding your mind and freeing your mind of any clutter that's, dragging you down or slowing you down. And it really is one of those things that can happen to the best of us. However, when we can talk about it and develop some strategies around that, then that freedom extends beyond Friday to Saturday to Sunday to Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday, right?
Absolutely.
So every day is what we decide it can be. I remember one time I was leaving Minneapolis, Minnesota, and just outside, and I was heading down I-35 south, and just outside of the city there's a kind of a rest area. There's a little McDonald's over there. So I was like, I'm going to pop in over here and grab a quick breakfast, use the restroom. And I was standing in line beside this gentleman. And I was like, he's like, oh, hello. And I was like, hello. And I was like, thank God it's Friday, right? And he smiled and he says, yeah. He says, but every day could be Friday if you want it to be. I looked at him. I'm like, he got me on that.
Yeah.
He's right. He says, you don't have to wait till Friday for that freedom to take place.
But, it's really funny. It's like people use the word mindset so much now, right? You hear it everywhere. But for me, it's about your attitude, your perceptions, whatever it is that you're the story that you're making up in your head, the thought patterns that you have, that story that you've written. We call it now the narrative, the things that you say. That is your story, and it filters and makes everything your reality. And that's your attitude. And then people say, well, it's the truth. Well, it's your truth.
Correct.
Well, no, wait. I mean, come on. No, really and truly. And I know to get people to shift their perspective, to get them to change their attitude, marvelous things like that last slide of your presentation need to happen.
Without a doubt, Dr. Deb, and it's interesting that that's something that I actually made a little recording about this week. And because what happens when your narrative, you're that's your character, right? That's your what your life's built on. So now you're going to feed in, subconscious, you're going to feed into that narrative because this is your
Right.
story. So, oh, you know what? And the car didn't start. And and there was a tire low I got. And there's potholes and the traffic was bad and right,
It's so
because
awful.
you're playing into the
Yep.
narrative. Or on the opposite side is, hey, the car wouldn't start, the battery's dead. Wow, it's in my driveway. I'm glad it went dead in my driveway instead of when I was out someplace. It'd be a lot harder to deal with, so I'm going to jump it here, then I'm going to take it over to the auto repair place. They're going to pop a new battery in there.
Right.
Or traffic slowing down. Oh, there's an accident up there. Hope no one's hurt. Glad I wasn't in it. Same scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
but again, the narrative's completely different, because today I'm here to dominate. Today I'm here to have a great day. And that's the way it's going to be. And so whatever happens, I'm going to mold that into what I need it to be so that I can be successful. Right.
Absolutely. And sometimes when you're paused like that and your battery is dead and you have to go back in the house, on the way back in, you see that you dropped a $20 bill in the garage, you know, and
Right.
or you go back in and somebody calls you on your landline and it's a precious call. I have a little drippy nose this morning. I think I should do an advertisement for this Kleenex company, don't you? Our,
That's
our
pretty
listeners
cool.
on Blog Talk
That's pretty
Radio, yeah,
cool.
but yeah, it's a really colorful little tissue. It's got a million different hearts on it. I think I'll post that for us.
That is pretty cool. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, you were going to kind of wish that you had one.
I do actually, because
Well, they,
I,
they
I,
make
I,
these they make these Kleenex with all these different things on it. I could probably send you one with puppies or baseball
yeah,
bats or
you'll
something.
have to, because it's interesting. I have some seasonal allergies, and so I always have Kleenex around just in case something flares up. So why not have Kleenex around that has hearts on it? That would be cool.
That's right, something lovely.
Instead of just
Um,
the plain, the plain old,
White.
colorless
Yeah.
Kleenex, which is fine, but
Do you,
I'd
do,
rather have the hearts.
do you remember when Kleenexes and toilet tissue came in multiple colors?
I do, and I remember you would go and get the color based on, like, my parents had this house where the bathroom me and my sister shared, it was blue. And so my mother would always get the Kleenex with that blue tint that matched the bathroom.
It's so hilarious
And
and
the toilet paper was blue too, by the way. Yeah.
yeah.
I do
I
remember that.
and I always wondered about it. It's like, is this really safe?
Yeah,
Am I going to
yeah.
be tinting my skin? I mean, come on here. Going back to this thing about perspective. So over the years, the different events that we've both done, one of my favorite setups was, it would be me, Dr. Mark Levy, who's a nice Jewish internal medicine physician, and Lama Lab Sang, uh, real true, born and raised in Tibet, and at the age of either 6 or 12 was chosen and was recruited into the monastery and became a high priest, the high priest of the monastery in the Tibetan mountains. And what was so fascinating about doing these events together, oh, now this is the regular. Oh my goodness.
There we
Remember we had
go.
this last
I
time we
do,
talked
I
about it.
do. Hey, they're on top of it.
There you go. They're playing music for us. That is so absolutely lovely. Oh my goodness. Is it bothersome? Can you hear okay when he goes by?
Oh yeah, it's fine. I hear a little hum, but
Oh,
it's good.
it's a new brand of birds.
And
Anyway,
they're
the joke
swarming.
the joke was that here's this nice three people who are from such diverse backgrounds, right? And we get this audience. Now we've got like 30 some odd people in there, because we wanted it small, because it was going to be about building your inner strength, and we wanted people to have room to spread out and do some of the blueprinting that that program has, and do some yoga, because we have a lama there, a Tibetan monk there. And so we're in the event, and to start it out, I said, so I've been listening to you all talking and visiting. That's great. And so tell me, how's life going? And it was just like you were saying a few minutes ago. Oh, my dishwasher was broken this morning. The cat, tipped over the litter box. My husband was a knucklehead. The kids were screaming, and I couldn't find the shirt that I wanted to wear. I mean, it was just such a nightmare. And it's this, right?
Mhm.
And I said, oh my goodness, now that is really something, God love you for getting here. I mean, how did you get through those tragedies to get here? And they're kind of looking at me, and I said, Lama, would you say a few words about how your life has gone? And can you maybe talk a little bit about how did you get here? And he says to me, Tibetans talking that they do that frog voice, I am Rama. And he would call me on the phone. I wouldn't know who it was. I'd hang up on him. It was like, he'd call me, what did he call me? It wasn't Deb. It was like Rev or something, because and I, who is this? Get off my phone. And so he's sitting there, and he does like the Dalai Lama does, who by the grace of God I got to meet, which was amazing
Ooh,
through
that
him.
is awesome.
Yeah, he grew up with them. So I mean,
Wow.
this man is a truly
That's on my bucket list, by the way.
oh, just awesome. Well, I will introduce you to Lama. I mean, he is amazing. And so he's sitting, yogi style on the chair that we have for him, and he tells the story of growing up, being with his family of origins, and then growing up in the monastery and learning everything, and then he was arrested by the Chinese army. And this is not a private story. I mean, this is international news, and it's part of what it is that's happening with the closing down of Tibet. There will be no more Dalai Lamas. And so he's taken, and he's held in prison, and he's there for months. And finally, through a long story that he goes through in excruciating detail, he and two other prisoners escape, and in the night, and it is cold. It's wintertime in the Himalayas. I mean, it is freezing cold. And they, between the three of them, have two pairs of sandals. They have no coats. They have no money. They have nothing. No water. No cell phone. Not anything. Not that a cell phone would even work out there. But the point is, he talks about, about this, and I'm saying to him, Lama, where did you go? How did you know where to go? And then, he takes his fist, and he pounds on his chest, and he talks about, this is how I know where to go. This is how I know. And then you do yoga to not freeze to death, and you take the mind and control with the mind the temperature of your body. And he would help his two associates who were with him, because he didn't want them to freeze to death. They were in this thing together. And they would take pine needles. They would take snow, put it in the cup of their hands, drop pine needles into it off of trees to make a broth. Find berries in the winter and know what to eat, how to control the mind so it didn't matter what it was. People would say, well, how do you know it wasn't poisonous? Because it didn't exist for them. I mean, it's a very different perspective, different reality. And they got to India. It took them 3 months to walk from Tibet to India.
Wow.
I mean, this is an amazing, amazing story. Maybe it took 10 months. I don't know. I haven't heard the story for a long time, but the point is, people hear that story and they're sitting there with their mouths agape. And I say, so friends, you want to tell me again about how your day started? And can I, not to insult you at all, can I get you to contrast that with what it could have been. Because, see, we're all living in the comfort, and we're so insulted when that comfort is interrupted at all. And
Exactly.
yet this man's here in a beautiful spirit to share with us. He used that journey to teach his two fellow associates how to survive. He got to enrich his skills. I mean, the way that he tells the story, you know, there wasn't one person in the room who wasn't crying. To do that is so exaggerated, but it really set that event in motion because we don't we don't think like that.
No, that's an amazing story. I really love that. It does. It puts things in perspective. I have a funny story about a person I met from Tibet. I was in Chicago and I was conducting a training for, it was actually at the Tootsie Roll Company where they make the Tootsie Rolls and everything there in
Oh, yeah.
Chicago. And I had I was talking about Mount Everest and this climb and you know, accomplishing the impossible and all these things. One of my favorite quotes is Sir Edmund Hillary, who's the first person, him and his Sherpa,
Yeah.
Tenzing Norgay, were the first to reach the summit.
Yep.
Hundreds of years, people have been trying, dying.
Right.
The
Amazing.
first. And this quote I remember him saying was that the impossible can always be broken down into possibilities. That's
Ooh.
huge, right?
Oh my gosh.
Huge.
Say
So
it again.
so
Say it
the
again.
so the impossible can always be broken down into possibilities. And if you put enough possibilities together, you've accomplished what was thought to be impossible prior.
Wow.
Okay. So I've got this big crescendo and it's coming up, and boom, I put this picture up of Mount Everest that I have Googled, and everybody claps and it's great. So we took a break after that. So one of the gentlemen kind of hung back and he said, "Hey, Dr. Charlie, can I speak with you?" Sure. He says, "Hey, I don't mean to insult you or anything." He said, "But I'm from Tibet and that was not Mount Everest." You know, because I Googled it and I found this nice, beautiful mountain and there was like a road leading up to it. He said, "There are no roads." Okay. He said, "It's scary, it's dangerous. That was not Mount Everest." You know, I would have no idea. So I went, you know, back to my hotel room that night and found real pictures of Mount
Oh
Everest.
my
But it
gosh.
was so funny.
That is
Uh,
hilarious. What a darling. What a darling
yeah,
thing for
yeah,
him to have done for you.
it really was. It really was nice. And but you know, I had no idea. I
No.
heard about it. I Googled it and
Right.
said Mount Everest. Boom! I put it on there, right? Because
There you
everything the internet says is true, right?
go.
So
Right. Have you ever wanted to climb Mount Everest? Have you ever wanted to get a Sherpa and do that?
I have until I read about it, and after I read about it, and this is my personal feeling. It's
Yeah.
not. I'm not judging anybody that wants that. Now it's become so commercialized, and so many Sherpas have died because of it's so dangerous, and people are taking things up there
Yes.
that they shouldn't be, and they're carrying all these loads. And you know, there is. I don't care how skilled you are. There's a huge element of chance involved in it where, you know, if this ice shifts at a certain time, it's over. You know, everybody on the mountain at that time is going to die. And then the thing about it is they have this valley and there are all these, it's colorful. It's very colorful. Well, it's all these different jackets and coats and hats and gloves and boots of all these people down there. Because when you die on that mountain, that's where you're they can't bring you back. So you're literally walking past people that have frozen to death and all these things. And so I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But I did at one time want to reach that summit, but I don't want to put anyone else at risk. And then yeah, so I've taken it down. But that was
Yeah.
something that I had in my mind.
Do you know what? Me too. There have been times in my life when I thought that this would be awesome. And just a couple years ago, a friend of mine really dedicated himself for years to working out and getting ready for it. A physician, and he hired a Sherpa and went with a small group. And I mean, it was very expensive. You know, it's like $15,000-$20,000 a person, and this guy, this pack, not just a person, but this pack is going to take you. And some people were saying, oh, that's cheating, that's not really doing it. And I said, hang on a second here, they can't climb it for you.
Right.
They can't breathe for you. And so he said the same thing. What used to be colorful there were the triangular Tibetan flags that everybody would string. Not everybody, that the Tibetans would string. But now it's littered. I mean, they've littered the place. And, oh, I'm bringing my stuff, I'm leaving my mark. Okay, well, you and maybe you and your dead body. And so it really is, it is really sad the way that something so sacred has been corrupted like that. The other part of that is the art of what it takes to climb a mountain. Talk about Freedom Fridays. To be able to get to freedom by focusing your mind so tightly and intensely that nothing can get in your way, nothing can interrupt it, is a phenomenon in and of itself. Now, there was a movie that I saw just last year, and it's called The Void. And I think it's called The Void. And it is a mountain climbing movie. And it is about these two guys who are mountain climbers. And the sister of one is just incensed because she's always worried about her brother, always. And when you're an avid mountain climber, it's like nothing else. You got to go climb. And the rock walls that we've now got in gymnasiums and the facilities that are set up for that, those have been such a huge attraction. And then people go to the closest location that they can, right, to go out there and climb these walls of rock. But in this movie, which really epitomizes what happened once upon a time at Mount Everest, very primitive climb. I mean, it was these two guys. They set up a camp with one person guarding the camp so that they would have a place to return to, and they could set their sights on it for when they were coming back. But I mean, it was, you take your hand and you take your fingers to try to find that place where you can tuck in, and then take your foot and tuck your toes in to some little tiny opening crevasse. And I mean, I was amazed. And the falls that they do, it was just amazing. I'll find a link to that movie and put it on to our post when we post this, because I think that us talking about this right now, this whole topic of Freedom Fridays and bringing it into center with mindset and the things that we can do with our body, because of where we take our mind, is phenomenal.
So true. So true.
And a mountain climber better break all the impossibility into little possibilities.
Right. And that's life. Breaking things down to bite-sized bite-sized portions that you can accomplish. And so no matter how complex the challenge is,
Yeah,
when we break it down in its small pieces, then it becomes simple. But you have to break it down.
right. I remember when I started graduate school, I had my Bachelor of Science, and I was walking into an MS PhD program, 7 years straight, no breaks, year round. The only work you're going to do is internships and ongoing training so that you are really getting a rich experience for close to a decade. And people would say to me, how in the world can you do that? And I said, don't talk about it.
It's true.
I can't look at the enormity of this. I mean, I don't see enormity. I see that I'm going to be sitting at seminar tables, spending time in libraries, spending time getting my head into material and studying and learning. If I would have, for one moment, allowed myself not the freedom, but the trap of looking at it, we wouldn't be sitting here today on Freedom Fridays.
It's true. It's true. And I remember getting my doctorate degree after I had completed that. It felt so great, but I have to admit for sure that if I'd had any idea even an inkling of how hard that was going to be, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have tried it. And so to your point, it was just that one day at a time, plug, 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 and it was just the routine. And here's what I need to do today. Here's what I need to accomplish today, and making sure I had everything done for today and next day and the next day and the next day. And before you knew it,
There you were.
exactly. I mean, it was amazing experience. But you're right. It's things are so. If you look at the big picture of our lives, there is a lot of complexity when you look at it big picture. But when you look at it in pieces, when you put it in those chunks, it's very very achievable, very attainable.
So when I am here in my office and I got my two monitors, I got my laptop, I got an iPad, I got my notes, and I am in production mode. I am trying to figure out what I'm going to do today. And I'm thinking, I have so much to do today. What should I start with first? And then I start to get this anxiety, and I can feel it in my gut, and then my mind starts to get like a fog, and I'm thinking, I need to get out of here, and I want to like get up and run out of the room, and I think, no, I need to get out of my head and the clouds that I'm putting in there and get back into clarity. And then I have to say, okay, what's just one thing I'm going to start with? What's one thing I can accomplish? And that's why doing these shows every day is so healthy, because it's a routine in my schedule. It's an interaction with my co-host, and it's a messaging. It's always good messaging, right? We're here. Our mission here is to help people with their inner freedom. Oh my God, that'd be a great book.
Yes, I love that. I love that title.
I'm going to write that down while we're sitting here. Your inner freedom. Do you ever experience overwhelm?
Hmm, that's a great question. I think I don't feel overwhelmed, as that's not the word I would use. I think for me I experience, wow, there's so many things that I want to accomplish, and I can get my mind can really start spinning on all the things I want to accomplish. This is what happens to me when I walk in Barnes and Noble, for instance. I walk in there and I go, I want to read all these books. You know what I mean? I want to read all of them. And it frustrates me that
Yeah,
I can't get to all of them. So
yeah,
then I'm like, okay, what do I need right now?
yeah,
And this is what's on my mind, or this has come up in my week, or this is a reoccurring theme this last month. I need to learn about this,
yeah.
or have it take a deeper dive into this. So I look at it that way. What do I need right now? What do I need to do right now? But I do at times look at the big picture and I want to accomplish it all today, and that's not how things work. So then when I get into it, I have to allow myself some time to relax and not work, and do some fun things. So, because I love what I do, so it's hard to turn it off at times, because I don't go wake up and go, oh, I got all this work to do today. I don't look at it that way. I wake up and go, man, I've got so many things to accomplish today and do, and get me closer to my next goal and my next goal. So that's how I process it.
I love it. That's a really good thing for people to sit and take notes on. I think one of the things that you and I would benefit from doing for people is a workshop, a webinar on exactly that, because people will hear that and think, oh, good idea. How do I do that? How can I learn that trick? How can I learn that particular skill? I I find that when I'm working with people who are my clients, people come to me because they're in some sort of trouble. They're rarely on on an exploration just for betterment, which I'd like to work with people who are just on an exploration for betterment, but it's like nobody's there, especially in 2020. It's like, crisis intervention. I mean, I could have been an ER physician like that, Um, and so I'm used to crisis intervention. But to teach people, especially now, Charlie, in the midst of, excuse me, Dr. Charlie, the the skill set for exactly what you said, how you wake up in the morning and what your first thoughts are. It gets into that much detail. And here's the secret. I've actually been interviewing people who I admire, saying, tell me what you do when you first open up your eyes. Because I think that's how far back in the day we need to go for people right now. Because I was getting up and turning on the news. Oh, please.
Yes.
I used
Yes.
to wake up and pray.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get jolted out of the
Mm-hmm.
bed with the news to remember, oy vey, and I'm running down the hallway making a sign of the cross, returning to my prayers, as opposed to just starting that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I think the way we begin, and I think there's a mindfulness to the way you begin your day
Mm,
that people don't take into consideration. They start, get on their phone immediately, checking their email or checking the weather or checking the news.
right.
That the worst thing,
Mm,
right? Instead of saying, okay, being grateful for the for another day of life and feeling great about it, and hey, here are all the things I'm going to accomplish today, but first I'm going to take care of myself here in the next hour, whatever your morning routine is, as
right.
far as your prep. And it's interesting too, because I talked to a friend about this one time, and she was telling me this. She said, during your day things happen, some things are unexpected, so your schedule can get altered. But she says what you have total control of is your morning routine and your evening routine before you go to bed.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so those two, so you start the day right and end the day right. And when you start doing that, what happens is what happens in between gets a lot better.
Oh, gosh. That's brilliant. That really is true. I like to get up. Ideally, I like to awaken at about 4 a.m. and take my time just stretching and praying while I'm still in repose. And at about 4:30, climb out of bed and start rehydrating.
Hmm.
And I'm engaged in not just prayerfulness but meditative mode. Put on a pot of coffee or a pot of tea, and then either exercise here to different things that I've got set up on my computer that I can watch, or go for a walk, or go for a swim, or go for a bicycle ride, because it gets my mind. I then am released, and looking outside of myself, out into the water, the neighborhood, the trees, as you're pedaling or walking. And you're so right about that. Nobody can interrupt. I mean, who's going to call you at like 4:45
Right.
a.m.? Well, a
So
couple
true.
people, but
Yeah, yeah, so true. And it just sets such a great tone, and that routine, you're actually getting things accomplished there. So when you start your day, you feel like, hey, I've already accomplished a lot of things before I even sat down to go to work.
right.
And then that's that positive momentum that kind of perpetuates throughout your day.
Yeah.
And then to end on a high note too, which is that's just awesome, to end on a high note where I've read something that's really positive that's going to help me tomorrow,
Right.
and I've got I've documented everything I need to document, my calendar. I know what's going to happen tomorrow, what I have on the calendar. So now I have this positive drift. I call it positive drift. I'm sure there's a lot of names for it, but as I drift off to sleep, I'm thinking about positive things. It could be a positive relationship, could be a future vacation, could be a future
Oh,
uh, goal that I see,
yeah.
and I'm seeing that as I drift off to sleep. I never really gave much thought to what I was thinking about before I went to sleep.
Yeah.
And someone was talking. I listened to maybe like a YouTube, and someone was talking about it. And I was like, what do I think about before I go? And then I realized that I was thinking about all the people that had made me mad during the day. That was my routine. And I don't know
Oh
where that
my.
started, whether it was in middle
Wow.
school, high school, wherever, but I'm talking about I must have done that for decades.
Yeah.
And, and just processing all this negativity. And
Sure.
so once I switched that up,
What a game changer.
yeah, it was a big game changer. And it was one of those habits that I had that I really wasn't conscious about. I wasn't being mindful at all. And so once I became mindful about my thought processes as I drifted off to sleep is really big. And that's important from a, position of the subconscious mind, because when we're in that pre-sleep mode, we're in that very relaxed state, our subconscious mind is very suggestible. And
Hmm.
the same thing when we're just waking up in that drowsy state. That drowsy state, you can really get things planted in your subconscious mind. So it's really important to plant very positive things in there, because those things that you plant are going to take root and start to impact you in your waking world.
You know what? We could actually use this platform and create two segments, one that is a morning segment and one that is an evening segment, and really outline it so that we are taking people into the brainwave states that they need to be in order to do both the things that you've talked about. And I absolutely love that. Would you be interested in having us do that?
I would. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's so powerful and beneficial, and a life changer for me. And there's been several things I've done over time, and the culmination of all of it is it really starts to show up in how you behave and how you deal with situations and other people. And it's such a positive thing to do and go through, and that transformation's real.
You know, there is so much that we can learn that is ancient wisdom. So there's an author, Michael Gelb, Gelb. Michael Gelb fell madly in love with Leonardo da Vinci, and I talk about this a whole lot in Build the Strength Within. And Leonardo da Vinci always carried with him, hundreds of years ago, a journal, a paper journal, and charcoal sticks and whatever it was that he could write with. And you know how during the course of the day we have these, oh, super great ideas, the book.
It's a journal.
Oh,
I
that's
carry it
awesome.
with me, and it's next to my bed, because
Oh,
sometimes you get an idea right
oh,
before you go to sleep,
Charlie.
or in the middle of the night. You got to write it down, because if you wait
Uh,
till the morning, it'll be gone.
yes, exactly. They evaporate. You're my hero. I can't believe that you're the only other person other than me that I know that does that. Isn't that great?
Exactly. It's awesome. I have so many super great ideas in here, and it's all in one space. And the creator of Seinfeld does this. Larry David has
Really?
his journal, and matter of fact, one of his episodes on Curb Your Enthusiasm, he loses his journal, and the whole episode is about him. He had a reward written down in there, and this guy holds it for ransom and
Oh
all
no.
this. And
Oh,
yeah,
that's hilarious.
yeah. Guy wouldn't give it back to him until he arranged for him to meet one of the characters from the cast of Seinfeld. And so it was
Really.
this whole big ordeal. But he had one journal where he just writes everything. And then when I fill the journal up, I keep it,
Oh yeah.
for posterity. So it'll be interesting. But it's such a great it's just a great habit to develop.
Yeah, it really is. The beauty in that is that it really, I think sometimes when people are pitching events, they almost alienate the audience because they talk in ways that are really unfamiliar. Like, to say we're gonna have a workshop. We're gonna talk about reflective practices. Oh, for God's sakes, here we go again. You know, as opposed to saying, how about if we talk about what do you think about when you're getting up in the morning, and what are you doing in the drift as you're going to sleep? My parents actually taught me that. Now we're going back a ways here, and my mommy and daddy at nighttime, I'd be either help to get in my jammies, or I knew how to get in my pajamas myself, and I could go upstairs, go in my bedroom, go in my closet, put on my jammies, take my clothing, put them out appropriately to air out, and then, put in the laundry the next day or whatever, put on my jammies, my slippers, and my robe, come back to the living room where the family is, and spend a little bit of time, however much that time was. And then, boy, I got to tell you, I got all the devices turned off here, and they're sneaking up on us with these sounds in the background. It's like, what are you doing here? And so, and then I would, kiss mom goodnight, kiss dad goodnight, and sister and brother were there. And then one of them, either my mom or my dad, would escort me up to bed, and I would say my prayers, and they would tell me to have sweet dreams, but they would talk about what sweet dreams would be. And they would talk to me about being able to get a good night of rest, and there'd be angels there to protect me, and the house is safe, and mommy and daddy are here, and my sister and brother are here. And then they would tell me to think about what a lovely day I had, and then we'd go over a few things. They'd tell me, and then on Saturday we're going to have a picnic, and or whatever it was the advance of it. Or in the morning you get to do this, and it was beautiful. And in the morning, and this was so significant as well. So I didn't have nightmares and night terrors the way that I've heard some people talk about as children. In the morning, my mother and father, one of the two of them, would come in to awaken me. When my mother came in, this was just exquisite. And I didn't know until after she passed away that there were people who had come and stayed at our house, and they got this treatment too, and they all adored it. My mother would come in very light-footed, and she would take her hand, the palm of her hand and her fingers, and put it on your cheek. And then with the back of her hand, kind of stroke your cheek a little bit, and then your forehead. And it was so gentle. It was like angel feathers. Mm-hmm. And then in this lovely voice of hers, she'd say, "Good morning." And then she would walk away from the bed so you didn't wake up with somebody staring at you. And all of the windows had these lovely cloth shades on them, the old-fashioned kind with a beautiful little rope hanging down in a little circle that had been embroidered at the end of it. And she'd gently pull it up and pull the curtains back, and you'd see the trees and the sunshine, and crack a window and hear birds and all that. And she'd say, "It's time to rise and shine and have a wonderful day. Are you ready to be awake?" Yeah, this is great.
Oh, that's amazing.
All right, now hang on a second. Then there was my dad. He was a comedian, and he had a whole nother style. And he'd come in the room, you could feel the energy as soon as he crossed the threshold. He'd say, get up, it's time to get up. What are you doing? Hey, Deb, come on, little Debbie, get up." And I'd say, "Yeah, I am up." And he'd say, "No, you're not, you're laying down." So I'd sit up in the bed, and I'd say, "I'm up," okay? And he'd say, "Nope." And I'd say, "I am." And I would, like, be looking forward and sort of slumped over because I was still, drowsy. And I would, he would be, sort of bantering with me, and he'd go behind me without me seeing him and whip the pillows out. And then I'd lay back on the bed, and I'd go, "What did you do?" And he'd say, "I told you were going to lay back down. Get up." Then he'd go over to the shade, and he'd flip it up, and it'd spin, and he'd say, "Up yet?" "No, go away, Daddy, go away." Now, I was a daddy's girl, so, everything with him was glory and fun and funny. But in the morning, it was like, why do you do that? But you woke up laughing, and your blood flowing, your heart beating, and energized. And then we began a beautiful morning practice of, right, the first half hour was your self-care. I see kids these days, I'm so worried about the parents and the children. "Hurry up, we're late, get up, we got to get in the car, we got to catch the bus." Well, wait a second, you're starting out all stressed out. Get up and clean and void and move and stretch and contemplate your outfit, or whatever. But go for a walk. I mean, we never got up and went flying out of the house.
It's true.
had breakfast together. We had breakfast together every morning as a family.
Mm, that's awesome.
It was awesome.
And it shows, obviously in how you've developed over the years with that foundation starting out. It's pretty magnificent, actually.
But you know what? You and I grew up very differently, and we have this mutual admiration for one another and our accomplishments and our characters and our personality and our sense of humor and our obvious ability to dialogue endlessly. And look at how I want people to watch us and listen to us and not have any envy, but say, if they can do it, I can do it. And
100%.
everybody can be accomplished and magnificent and create the life they want.
It's true. And I think it's so interesting, this quote, and it's about being unique, right?
Mm.
And if we live into who we are, then we're going to be unique just like everybody else, right? Every everybody's unique, but what happens is it's so easy to follow the herd and kind of get lost in the shuffle,
Yeah, it is.
and it's easy to lose yourself, your unique traits, your unique ability, your unique voice. It's so easy to get lost in the herd. And the ultimate fulfillment is being who you are, right?
Mm.
And whether that's a caregiver, caretaker, whatever it is, that's your thing. I mean, it's so interesting to me to see someone that their love is manicuring a lawn,
Yeah.
and you walk past a lawn and it's a lawn, it's breathtaking. You just want to stop and stare because everything is so well placed and so well cared for, and the colors and the diversity and plant texture and height, and you're just like, wow, that's not random.
That's
That's a gift that human being has, and they're sharing it with the world. And so we all have some type of gift, but it's just being open to that and being willing to share it, because then there's other people that walk past that lawn and don't give it another look. But you whenever you embrace your unique characteristics and abilities, then you're going to have that magnetic pull, and certain people are going to be drawn to you, and that's your tribe, and that's a great thing.
amazing. Yes. You know, when we talk about drawn to and having people drawn to us, think about how many people are lonely and wondering, well, how do I do that? Is it, what's the magic formula for that? And, on social media, people can get really caught up in that. Oh, you've got such a following, and, everybody wants to hear what you have to say. What's the magic? How did you do that? There is no magic. Marketers are, it's not a slam against marketers, but marketers are convincing people that it's how often you're posting and how often you're messaging. But the real truth is it's the vibe that you have, it's the energy that you bring to the world that's going to attract people or nothing. Now, if you don't post at all, you'll never get a following because no one, there's nothing there to see. But the feeling of goodness that we have inside of us, it's just like when you and I met and Gary had introduced us to one another at Starbucks that morning. We walked in, and I think you were already there. I walked in, you guys had already had your time together and great energy and great conversation. I walk into something that's already got good energy. I walk in and I've got a good energy because I'm excited. I'm out. It's the morning. It was when you went out to meet people, you know, and you got to walk up, shake their hand, give them a hug, sit down, 1 foot apart, and engage. And now in and that's wonderful, right? Because what people describe it as charisma. Well, charisma is just being warm and friendly and open and having it be genuine because you've cleaned up your inner stuff. So there's no junk coming through, like, you're somehow some sort of culprit, or right.
Hmm.
And
So
now I think with actually with everything there's a blessing. I think with the incubation and the quarantine. Well, I don't want it mandated because none of us want anybody telling us what to do or what we have to do. There's an invitation here for us to make really cozy use of the internet and the cameras and our voices and the platforms that we're on, which is exactly why I love this show. We have an opportunity to show people, look how comfortable this is, right?
yeah, 100%, 100%.
And we're getting to spend the time together, and how awesome is that? And what can blossom out of this? I'm envisioning us sitting here with all the other squares filled, like Hollywood squares on TV once a million years ago, and having people going, yeah, right on, I feel good, I feel better.
So true. Who knew that Hollywood Squares would be this now? Right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That was the weirdest show because they'd really like lean out and try to look at one another.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
You know what? It'd be fun to have that set.
Yeah, it just that that it's become a precursor to what we're doing right now is really interesting to me.
I'd like to talk to the people who invented Zoom
Oh, yeah,
and see if they watched Hollywood Squares and if that
yeah,
invited the gallery view.
yeah, yeah. No, I love it.
So tell me here on Freedom Fridays, what happened with you during the week that made you think about Freedom Fridays and what it means and what we want to accomplish for ourselves today as well as for the audience?
Yeah, I think it, every week has its challenges and things to overcome, right? And things to deal with, and the ups and downs and all of that. And so this week was like many other weeks where I had, ups and downs, peaks and valleys. And at the end of it, that I'm finishing the week on a very strong note and a very strong trajectory and looking forward to next week with gratitude and with anticipation of good things. That's for me Freedom Fridays, is that hey, all those challenges have been addressed, and and moving forward into a better reality, and every day I'm moving forward into a better reality.
I
That's
love it.
for that's freedom for me.
Yeah. I love that. That's absolutely spectacular. So for me, um, as I thought through every day, and again, like the challenges, the wins, the am I going to win? And then realizing the win is in my head. It's all
Yep.
about my perspective, trying to take care of these things on a list and the problems that pop up, and seeing them as opportunities to learn what not to do again, opportunities to feel the rewards of my initiatives, um, the freedom on Friday of thinking about what it is that I've been able to accomplish that buys me some more open time to be able to do a walk, a nap, an early dinner, a couple of movies. I'll tell you, after last Friday, our Freedom Friday, I took Saturday and Sunday, and it was a really unusual weekend for me. I was so laid back. I was in such repose. The work week was really busy, and it things started clicking inside of me in terms of our Freedom Friday routine and show. And I vegged out and laid around and took naps and read things that I wanted to catch up on, and then I was really grateful for Monday.
perfect.
Yeah, it is perfect. Can you believe we've been talking for an hour?
It flies by.
It
It really
does.
does.
It does. So, friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. You know, off of Blog Talk Radio, we upload automatically from Blog Talk Radio into iTunes. And so you can look at Blog Talk Radio, the K Factor, and you can enter in Dr. Deb Carlin, you can enter in Dr. Charlie Cartwright, you can enter in Freedom Fridays. You're going to find us. And also, this show was blasted out before we went on the air onto Facebook, onto Twitter, and onto Tumblr. And that's the audio part of it. And then the video part of it is a Zoom call that gets uploaded directly by us into YouTube, to a YouTube channel. And all you got to do is YouTube Dr. Deb Carlin, and then all you have to do is go to Dr. Charlie Cartwright and Dr. Deb Carlin on all of our social media channels, and boom, we're there.
Perfect.
Yeah, I love it. Charlie, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You're a blessing.
So are you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, my friend. I'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Bye-bye.